Ms. Bulamwini, right now, Amazon can scan your face without your consent, all of our faces without our consent, and sell it to the government, all without our knowledge, correct?
Yes.
And, Mr. Chair, I'd like to seek unanimous consent on how Amazon actually met with ICE officials over facial recognition system that could identify immigrants. I'd like to submit this to the congressional record.
Without objection.
Thank you so much. Ms. Garvey, in fact, it's not just Amazon that's doing this, right? It's Facebook, it's Microsoft, it's a very large amount of tech corporations, correct?
That's correct.
And do you think it's fair to say that Americans are essentially being spied on and surveilled on a massive scale without their consent or knowledge?
I would make a bit of a distinction between what Facebook and other companies are doing, but yielding to Ms. Bulamwini for more specifics on this. I will say most of the law enforcement agency systems operate on DMV databases or mugshot databases, so information that has been collected by agencies rather than companies.
Great. Thank you, thank you. And Mr. Ferguson, one of the prime constitutional concerns about the non-consensual use of facial recognition technology is rooted or alluded to in the 14th Amendment, correct?
It's correct, it's one of them.
And right now, companies, governments, agencies can essentially steal or use your biometric data from you without your consent. And this is outrageous, right? Because this is America, and we have a right to privacy. Isn't that right, Ms. Koliani?
That's absolutely right.
And Ms. Koliani, what was the Supreme Court case that identified the right to privacy?
It's been, I don't remember the original one, but I mean, there's been a series of cases where the court has essentially said, look, with modern technology, it shouldn't mean that we don't have Fourth Amendment rights.
Yes, and what was there a landmark Supreme Court decision that established that we've seen recently?
You know, we've seen the Carpenter case where the court said that it was unconstitutional to warrantlessly surveil individuals. We've seen cases where the court has also said that you can't search a cell phone without a warrant
and
to arrest.
Most specifically, with relation to the 14th Amendment, it was Roe v. Wade that established the right to privacy. Is that correct?
Roe v. Wade, the right to privacy was addressed there as well.
Right. So, you know, we don't just have, because that right to privacy is alluded to, part of the case in our right to privacy is that this doesn't just give us a right to my uterus. It gives me a right to my hand and my shoulders, my heads, my knees, my toes, and my face. And so in some ways, part of the case, although it's not all of it, there's a great deal rooted in the 14th Amendment with search and seizure, but in our right to privacy, we also see here that this is about our entire body, our right to our entire body. And the similar principle that keeps a legislator out of my womb is the same principle that would keep Facebook and algorithms off of all of our faces. And so do you think it's fair to draw that connection?
I think that when we're talking about privacy, it is important to think about more than our face, right? So we're seeing the FBI use things like voice recognition and gait recognition, all different types of biometrics that I think fundamentally raise some of the same privacy concerns that have been talked about by all the panelists today.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Bulamwini, I heard your opening statement, and we saw that these algorithms are effective to different degrees. So are they most effective on women?
No.
Are they most effective on people of color?
Absolutely not.
Are they most effective on people of different gender expressions?
No, in fact, they exclude them.
So what demographic is it mostly effective on?
White men.
And who are the primary engineers and designers of these algorithms?
Definitely white men.
So we have a technology that was created and designed by one demographic that is only mostly effective on that one demographic, and they're trying to sell it and impose it on the entirety of the country.
So we have the pale male data sets being used as something that's universal when that isn't actually the case when it comes to representing the full sepia of humanity.
And do you think that this could exacerbate the already egregious inequalities in our criminal justice system?
It already is.
Thank you very much. I yield the rest of my time to the chair.
How so?
So right now, because you have the propensity for these systems to misidentify Black individuals or brown communities more often, and you also have confirmation bias, where if I have been said to be a criminal, that I am more targeted. So there's a case with Mr. Ba, an 18-year-old African-American man who was misidentified in Apple stores as a thief. And in fact, he was falsely arrested multiple times because of this kind of misidentification. And then if you have a case where we're thinking about putting, let's say, facial recognition technology on police body cams in a situation where you already have racial bias, that can be used to confirm, right, the presumption of guilt, even if that hasn't necessarily been proven, because you have these algorithms that we already have sufficient information showing fail more on communities of color.
Mr. Brofman.